But LeBron certainly thinks his number should be retired. So that's that I find it interesting that the guy who would be the reason it's not retired says absolutely. Maybe he just feels bad for the way it all went down. All right, let's switch gears. Let's get into the real content, why we are here today. We want to talk, first of all, about DeMar DeRozan, because his name has been in the media over the last day or so. And the reason DeMar DeRozan's name has been in the media is because of LeBron James. Now, it's not necessarily this time about LeBron James basically tearing up the entire city of Toronto, dubbing the name and nickname LeBronto. But LeBron James, just take a look at this. LeBron James replied to a tweet that asked, should the Raptors retire DeMar DeRozan's jersey? And he said, that's a real question. Absolutely, they should. So LeBron James showing his respect to DeMar DeRozan. And we have a bit of a poll here. So here's one of the original tweets from well, obviously not the original tweet, but the article is written by Aaron Rose, and he put a poll, and 82% of people, most of these people are Raptors fans, just because Aaron Rose is a Raptors reporter. They say that they should retire DeMar DeRozan's number, and I wanted to kind of gauge how we felt about that, and I wanted to kind of present my opinion about that. What I think is funny about this situation is LeBron James was very quick to comment that yes, they absolutely should retire DeMar DeRozan's number. But like, if anybody is at fault for the Raptors not retiring DeMar DeRozan's number, it's LeBron James, because that era of the Raptors is completely stained by the LeBronto years, where LeBron just year after year after year just tormented the Raptors in the playoffs, which led to one of the most infamous press conferences, I would say, in Raptors history. Essentially, DeMar DeRozan, after one of the playoff games against LeBron, got torn up, and reporters were asking him about, like, you know, how they plan on stopping LeBron. And one of the saddest things I've ever seen, DeMar DeRozan essentially says, like, any of you guys know how to stop LeBron? He said this to the media. Basically, let me know if you guys know how to stop LeBron. And it was just so helpless. It was so sad. Like, what can you really do? What can you really do when you are playing against that version of LeBron James? As much as I think, you know, I'm a believer that LeBron is the GOAT. I know it's subjective, and I know this is a big debate about it, but that's just how I feel. I'm not gonna sit here and argue about that right now. I believe that the greatest era of LeBron to me was that second stint in Cleveland. That is when I just, you know, started to develop the thought that, okay, I am literally watching the greatest basketball player of all time. Because LeBron, especially in one of his final years in Cleveland, where the Cleveland Cavaliers were not playing well, you know, this is the season they started with D Wade, and they had to reshuffle their entire team. They were the 4 seed, and LeBron willed this team to an NBA final. I actually remember the series against Indiana in the first round, where I think in game 7, he played something like either all 48 minutes or 46 minutes at such a high level. And to do it all completely on his own, to do it all by himself, create the offense by himself seemingly, was just absolutely incredible. And just watching it was mesmerizing, and seeing all of that happen made me come to that sense that, okay, this has to be the greatest basketball player of all time. This is the best player the world has to have ever seen. That is the define, like, that's how I kind of define that era of LeBron. That second stint in Cleveland was just like, I'm gonna do this. He doesn't need, you know, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, all that. I'm gonna do this. And he just took over games. And that era of LeBron, that takeover era, I mean, his whole career's takeover era, but that specific era where they continuously had to play against the Raptors was just like, what could you do? What could you do? I mean, OG Anunoby was a rookie having to guard LeBron. OG did a great job. But it's LeBron James, and he still got his, especially though that buzzer beater, that floater, that picture just sums up the era. Because there's just nothing we could do about it. The defense would have been stellar. The defense was stellar. OG had a hand in his face. He forced a tough floater. Like what could you really do? What can you really do about it? But regardless, LeBron James feels like DeMar DeRozan's number should get retired. So what do I think about this? I think that as far as jersey retirements and like kind of the rubric and the bar it takes to get your jersey retired in Toronto, like Kyle Lowry is getting his jersey retired. He's getting a goddamn statue someday, but he's getting his jersey retired maybe like within the next year. So it's difficult for me to set the bar because we don't have one. There isn't a single jersey retired by the Toronto Raptors. There's no real benchmark for me as a Toronto fan of any sport to understand what it takes to get your jersey retired. And as far as the Leafs goes, I mean, the amount of championships in the past, like, sure. But the Raptors, they won the championship without DeRozan. So DeRozan doesn't have a championship on his resume. Not that you need a championship to get your jersey retired. Kyle Lowry fits the bill of a jersey retirement. DeMar DeRozan has the stats, like all-time numbers for Raptors because of its longevity. Nick LaFon says jersey retirement should be an amalgamation of longevity, impact, and championship. So maybe there has to be a bit of a, like, 2 out of 3. I don't know. Maybe you need all 3 because you can't just retire anybody's number. Like, would you guys retire Vince Carter's number? I'd only think about it because of his impact with the Raptors. Longevity-wise, it's not really there. Championship obviously isn't there. Never even got to a conference final, whether that was his fault or front office management. But Kyle Lowry has longevity, has insane impact, and the championship. That is absolutely a jersey retirement. Kawhi Leonard has impact and championship and finals MVP. Is that good enough to get his jersey retired? I'd say no. I would say no to Kawhi. As far as DeRozan goes, it's hard to really argue against what he's done for the city. I mean, the only reason the city was relevant enough to go close to a championship and get Kawhi Leonard was because of him. So are we going to reward him with a jersey retirement because of all that? As another good question. The truth is, I don't really have a good answer for you here, because all signs point towards he should get his jersey retired, but there's just something screaming in me that maybe he shouldn't have it retired, and I don't really know what that is. It's difficult to verbalize for me. I personally am feeling like he's done enough, but something is just screaming like maybe he shouldn't have his jersey retired. Ultimately, I wouldn't be upset to see it retired. There's just something, like, is it the championship? Is it the inability to deliver in the clutch moments of the playoffs? Is that what is eating away at me? Because it's possible that is the case, but there are teams in the NBA who don't have any championships, who have plenty of jersey retirements. So championship can't just be it, because not every team has those championships. So I find that very interesting. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to see what you guys think. I think if it, like, so a lot of my decisions come down to coin flips. Like, I literally flip a coin, because sometimes it just picks for me. Sometimes as the coin is in the air, you kind of know, like, in your mind, you want it to land on one or the other. So if you ever split between a decision, a good way to know what you truly want is to flip a coin. And while it's flipping, you kind of, you know what you want. And I think if I flipped a coin on this one, I would say I do think the Raptors should retire DeMar DeRozan's jersey, because there are a lot of teams who don't have a championship who are still retiring jerseys. And I think that the impact that he had on Toronto had huge ramifications on the success over the last decade, and huge ramifications onto the way we kind of perceive this team, how we kind of perceive this winning culture. And if you look at the all-time stats for Raptors in terms of, like, points, games played, assists, and all that, DeRozan is up there in a lot of those categories because of the stellar play that he sustained over a number of years with the Raptors, a number of years where he was consistently an all-star with the Raptors. So I think that ultimately I would say yes. Ultimately, I'm very grateful that you guys are supporting the other brands, the other channels as well. Speaking on Adam's behalf as well, we're both very grateful for the support on the Clips channel.